Today I'm going to show you how to make bread by hand. You will need 500 grams of strong white bread flour, 25 grams of butter, 320 millilitres of warm water, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and 7 grams of dried yeast. Firstly, in a bowl, add your butter to your flour and gently rub in with the tips of your fingertips until it is combined and resembles breadcrumbs. Then add your sugar, your salt and your yeast and just give it a little mix to try and combine it as much as you can. And then gradually add in your warm water a little bit at a time and mix it in. Make sure your water is warm and not hot. If you add hot water in and the water is too hot, it will kill your yeast and your bread will not rise. So make sure it is room temperature or body temperature, a nice warm water but not hot. As you add in that water gradually, your dough will start to form and mix together. You can do this by hand, but I prefer to do it with a fork just because of how sticky it gets, and you just end up with half of your dough on your hands. Once you've added in all of your water, then gently flour your work surface and tip out your dough. You will then need to knead the dough for about 10 minutes. This is very labour intensive, I will warn you, and there's a few times where I have to stand away and stretch because it's aching your arms. It's a very good workout though. So the way to knead is to use the bottom part of the palm of your hand and push into the dough. Pick the dough up, turn it, and then push down again with the bottom part of the palm of your hand. The reason why we use the bottom part of the palm is because you're pushing then with your arm and not with your hand. If you push with your arm, then it won't ache as much and you won't get achy hands at the end of it. If you're trying to push with your hand, it will ache your hands much quicker and you can get much more power into kneading it if you use the bottom part, so then you're using your arm. And we knead it for 10 minutes because we want it nice and stretchy and elasticy feeling at the end of it. Once it's well kneaded, you'll then need to leave it to rise. So I just put a little bit of oil in the bowl just to make sure it doesn't stick to the sides of the bowl, and pop that ball of dough into the middle, and then having oiled a little bit of cling film, you'll pop that on top. Leave it in a nice warm place for about an hour, so near a radiator if you've got the radiator on, or if you're cooking something in the oven, I just pop it next to the oven somewhere nice and warm for that yeast to start its work. After an hour, your dough should have doubled in size. At this point, we want to do what's called knocking back the dough. So it is essentially kneading the dough again to try and take out the air that it has accumulated. So again, same technique. The bottom part of the palm of your hand, just push into the dough, pick up and rotate. And again, bottom part of the palm, push it in and just knead it. You only need to knead it for a minute or two at this point. We don't have to go to such lengths as we did before. And once we've knocked back the dough, we will then need to leave it again to do a second rise. At this point we want to now put it in our loaf tin. So I have used a loaf tin that is 13 centimetres by 23 centimetres. I have lightly greased the outside of the tin, and then I also sprinkle a bit of flour just to help it make sure that that bread comes out once it's cooked. Then just pop your dough into your loaf tin. I try and stretch out the dough so then it fills the loaf tin at the bottom a bit better, so then when it rises to the edges rather than just rising in the middle. And then using that oiled cling film from before, we're just going to cover it again, and again we're going to leave it for 30 minutes in a nice warm place to do a second rise. Then after 30 minutes, remove the cling film from the top. I just sprinkle a little bit of flour on top just to make it nicer when it comes out of the oven. In a preheated oven at gas mark 6, 200 degrees centigrade or 180 fan assisted, you want to bake your bread for about 30 minutes. Having taken the bread out of the oven, to make sure that it is fully baked, what you want to do is turn the bread over and tap the bottom. If the bottom sounds hollow, then it's done. If it doesn't and it sounds or feels a little bit still wet, then you'll want to pop it back in for probably another 5 to 10 minutes, and just keep popping it in for 5 to 10 minutes until that bottom is nice, dry and it's sounding hollow. And there you have it. That is how you make bread by hand.